Welcome to Make Your Competition Irrelevant using a blue ocean strategy. I'm Dennis Norman, and today I'm going to spend some time showing you one blue ocean strategy approach that will help you beat your competition and, better yet, make your competition irrelevant. For starters, let's give a little background on Blue Ocean Strategy. Blue Ocean Strategy is actually the title of a book written by W. Chan Kim, and in this book, or the book is the result of a study of several successful companies within 30 industries, and the study spans over 100 years worth of these companies and 150 strategic moves by companies, and so he studied these companies and their moves to develop this strategy that they used, and it was basically that what these companies did and these strategic moves that he followed, they did not create, or I'm sorry, they did not compete with the dominant players in their industry by going head to head with them, which ends up being kind of a bloody battle. Which would be the typical strategy, which would be a red ocean strategy. You're out there in the red ocean where everyone else is. Instead, what they did, and what his book is about, is creating a blue ocean strategy, an uncontested market, your own space that's ripe for growth. Quick examples at the top here are a comparison between red ocean and blue ocean. In a red ocean strategy, again, probably what you're doing today, you're competing in existing market space. There's one chunk of the market and everybody's fighting within that market to get that business. The blue ocean strategy approach would be to create an uncontested market space, create your own space where you're not competing head to head. In the red ocean strategy, you have to beat the competition. In the blue ocean strategy, which, let me back up here. Beating the competition is not always easy, is it? Especially if you're the small independent broker going against the big national firm or the large franchise with name brand recognition, or if you're the agent within the 1,000 agent or 2,000 agent company, and you're trying to compete with all of them who basically look like you. They're all part of that same company and that same franchise. So very difficult to do to beat the competition. Instead, the blue ocean strategy would be you simply make your competition irrelevant. So whether it's that 1,000 agent office or whether it's that national office that you're competing with or whatever, you simply make all your competition irrelevant, and then it doesn't matter. Red ocean strategy would be you have to exploit the existing demand. And the blue ocean strategy would be you create and capture new demand. In the red ocean strategy, you have to make the value cost trade-off, meaning that you have to adjust in order to compete. You may have to adjust the value of what you're giving, or the cost of what you're giving, give less value at lower cost to compete, or greater value, I'm sorry, at lower cost. And in the blue ocean strategy, you simply break the value cost trade-off. You're not competing in that manner. And so we're going to move on here, but that is what we're talking about today. It's a great book. I'd highly recommend reading the book. So who's done it? There's several examples you see on the screen of companies that have used this blue ocean strategy where they made their competition irrelevant. Cirque du Soleil in the circus arena, no pun intended, Apple, Wikipedia. I mean, Wikipedia did not compete with Encyclopedia Britannica in their playing field whatsoever. Wikipedia's never printed a book. They created a new market. Yellowtail, same thing. They're in the wine industry, and the wine industry is a wickedly competitive industry, and they simply created a blue ocean strategy and competed differently. And same with Gillette. Now, I'm not going to go into the history of these companies and how they did this. However, it's all in the book. It's worth checking out. But these are companies that you recognize, and as you dig into it, you'll see that that is what is a major part of their success is that they did use a blue ocean strategy. So how do you do it? Again, today we're going to just talk about one approach. And the one approach that I'm going to talk about today involves the following things. One, become the market expert. Now, at first blush, people might say, oh, this room is filled with real estate agents. All of them, everybody's a market expert, right? Because they should be. This is the profession they work on. Well, I think probably most everyone would agree with me that unfortunately that is not the case. The large majority of the real estate agents and brokers out there simply are not a market expert, and that's just the reality. Second item is have the data consumers want. Consumers today are very spoiled. There's information and resources available to them, a wealth of it at their fingertips. However, they get data overload, though, and information overload. And so one of the keys would be is instead of just being another Me Too like everyone else, is to have the data the consumers actually want. Another one is to step would be to present the data in a different way so that you are presenting it different and you are in fact different than your competition. Use data to your advantage. We'll talk about that today too. And use that data to make your competition irrelevant. So this market data that you're going to use for all of these things is also going to build you up as the market expert, because assembling this data and digesting this data and packaging this data, you're going to learn it as well. So it will truly make you a market expert. And then finally, you can use all of this data that we're talking about here to get yourself free publicity, perhaps even some free time on the television, on network television, or perhaps on the radio or in the newspaper. Things that the type of promotion that is really priceless and that you can get for free. So you can do this in a variety of ways. One of the ways is you use common data sources that's available to to pretty much all your competition, but you use it differently. Well, first off, let me just stop and back up. The operative word here is the first word on the screen, use. Just because something's available to everyone and just because something's available to all of your competition, that doesn't mean they're using it. In fact, the bulk of your competition's not using it. So for starters, you just simply use those data sources that are available to everyone, such as what's available through the MLS. However, you use it differently. Differently in the way or to achieve some of the things I talked about on the prior screen. You use it differently to present it in a different way. You use the data to present what the consumers want. You use it differently to your advantage. Now, another way is you find new data, and that will set you apart, that's not readily available to all of your competition, or at least would take some effort on their part or expense to get. So on the screen here, I've got a few examples. In the upper left-hand corner, if you're in the St. Louis metro area, this is, or actually even beyond that, if you're part of the Mid-America Regional Information Systems, MLS, MARIS, then this is available to you. This is a chart, in this case depicting the number of sales and the average sales price that is available to everyone that is a member of MARIS. And MARIS has, I don't remember how many members exactly, 13,000 or 14,000, give or take. And I can promise you there are just a handful, if that many, using this, this tool. But it's available to everyone, and it's free to use. So that's one. The upper right-hand corner. Now this is a chart that's showing information. It's a market action index. It's a great chart, which I'm not going to get into today, but it's just another example of information that's available. Now this is from Altos Research. This is a company that is an aggregator of market data. I like them a lot. We're actually a reseller for them, And one of the reasons I like them so much is because in addition to assembling data from transactions that you would also find in the MLS, they're also compiling data for non-MLS properties, for sale by owners, and the like. So really, because the market is bigger than just the MLS. So I like that. I also like some of the ways it's packaged and put together. What's on the screen here is a market action index. That's a trademarked item. It's an index. It's just a quick snapshot. It's something that quickly tells you what the market's like. And in this case, I've got it broken down into quartiles, slice the market into fourths. And again, I'll cover that in more detail another day. In the lower left-hand corner here, this is an example of, again, going back to my having the data consumers want and presenting it in a different way. Now this is beta. Let's call this a beta version because it doesn't look pretty at all. It's not real attractive, but it's something I'm currently working on. This is something consumers want. This, when it gets done, this report is going to be, first off, real time. It'll be on a web page, and real time meaning that it's always up to date. But this will be something that will show the median price for any given subdivision, as well as how many homes have sold within whatever time period's being displayed there. And this is something everyone wants. Consumers want to know what homes have sold for, and specifically at the subdivision level is very popular. People that aren't even currently in the market love to know what their neighbors' houses are selling for. They like to keep tabs on their neighborhood. Investors love this stuff. People in the market like it. So now this is available. Pardon me. This table down here is being made or compiled from MLS data through Maris. However, I'm using it differently because Maris does not offer a chart or a table like this where you can just pull median subdivision prices by subdivision and by whatever time period you've selected. So I am doing some custom programming and packaging it up in a way that will be different than what all the other members of Maris have available. However, the data itself is common. So the source is common. I'm just using it differently. Then I'm also using it to present it to a way that's easy for the consumer to understand, and also what they want. They want this stuff by subdivision. They want to know that. So example there on the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner, this is a quick snapshot of the market. This is also real-time market data, and this is for the whole metro area. This is for the entire MSA. And once again, it's a real quick look at things that a lot of consumers like to see. Now this is based on Altos data, same as the chart up here. But a lot of fun information and useful information that again will set me apart from the others. Now a way to use some of this data to generate interest from consumers and also get responses from consumers, start engaging the consumer, which is what we want, right? I mean, you want to do this. You don't want to just be the source of information and get nothing in return. I mean, unless you're independently wealthy and this is going to be your cause, you're doing this for the benefit. You want to go through this effort and this expense of putting this market data out there. You want to do this to engage the consumer. You want to do this to show the public and the consumer that you are an expert, that you know more about this than anyone else. But you also want it to start the dialogue with them, to start the conversation. You want them to introduce themselves. You want them to give you their name and their email address and maybe a phone number. And you want them to engage and invite you to email them and start this conversation and eventually have conversations, and then when they're ready to do something, you've got the relationship established. So one of the ways to do that is to use some teasers, and as well as the info people want. So like here is on the screen now is a sample of a page, part of a web page I put together for one of our agents, for Walter Harris. that is focusing on Kirkwood. He was, using this to work the market in Kirkwood, and it's real easy. It's something clean and easy for people to look at. It's got charts here that consumers can look at and quickly see. Like this chart here is median price for Kirkwood, and it goes back for the past year. Well, it doesn't take any studying or any real effort to look at this and go, wow, look what's happened to prices. They dipped down here back in the winter, and look what's happening. Average days on market, we can see what's happened there too. So it's a quick snapshot. Again, buyers, sellers, homeowners, investors like this stuff. It's always up to date. They can check back next month and see what's changed. And so it's kind of a teaser, though. They might want more specific data, though. Maybe they want that subdivision data for Kirkwood, or maybe they want a market report, a more detailed market report. Well, that's why we have this over here. Now we have the form here where they can request this market report. And oops, sorry about that. I clicked on it. They can request this market report, and for the area they want. That gives them some reasons for that. Other teasers would be, again, here's another page for Kirkwood. Shows some different data down below here, actually several more charts, but a little summary at the top, and then some charts. Easy for people to digest. If they really want some details, they can look up here. If they just want the pictures and kind of get the overall, impression of the market, they've got it there. Again, over here is a form that they can submit to get some questions answered. This is on a larger level here. This is a page that shows all these stat tables, this market data, real-time market data at the whole metro area, at the MSA level. So here's the whole St. Louis metro area. Or here's just for the city of St. Louis, St. Louis County, Jefferson County, Franklin County, etc. This one's done. It has a form. Hey, I want to know what my house is worth. So anyway, those are some examples of some teasers, if you will. Maybe you give it to them at the macro level here, at the county level, and you stress on here that, hey, I can break this down to you for this, at the subdivision level. But again, it's a lot of good, useful data, and all branded, and inviting the consumer, showing the consumer that you've got what they want, and inviting them to engage or connect with you. Also, don't just think in your market. Think outside of your market too. We love referral business. And in fact, I like referral business better than any of the other business. And this market data too, if you have the data available, again, this page I'm showing here is it's something we've built, but the data comes from Altos. This is on Naples. This is just an example for Naples, Florida, and it's it's a value-added proposition. So instead of if you make it clear to, as you're out there talking to people in your sphere, if you make it clear to them that, hey, don't just think about me for the St. Louis area. Think about me for anywhere in the country. If you've got a cousin on the East Coast that's thinking about moving, please let me know. If you've got somebody in New York that's talking about buying a country home, please let me know. If you're thinking about a vacation home or a second home or a vacation rental or whatever, and when you really start, when you start looking at the entire country as your market, it really changes things. And when you, again, start talking with people nationally about real estate, you're creating this blue ocean. Again, you're going outside of the conversation that typical agents are having with them, and you have something to back this up because you can add some value. If they're talking about, we did this with a client that was looking for a nice beach home in Florida, torn between the Tampa market and the Sarasota market, trying to decide what would be better. We were able to present some of these, two different web pages, one showing the Tampa market, one showing the Sarasota market with the charts and the data, and it was real easy for anyone to see. They could sit there and look at these two pages, look at the data on the two, and it was real easy to see that the Sarasota market was already well on its way to making a comeback. Prices were going up, inventory was going down, days on market was going down, and you could see that Tampa was still lagging behind. and it was pretty clear Tampa was probably had bottomed out, but it was clear to our client and to us that Tampa was the better opportunity. Well, that, we brought something to the table there. That is blue ocean. We weren't just simply saying, oh, here, let me make you a referral, and if I'm a Remax agent, I'm going to go to the Remax side. If I'm Keller Williams, no. And we don't care who someone's with when we're trying to find someone for this referral. We do the research, and that's another topic, but we found great agents, for this client. And in fact, the agents in these markets in Tampa and Sarasota found value in the data we had put together. We made ourselves relevant to them. So just keep it in mind for the referrals too. Back to these teasers. People love top 10 lists. I mean, God bless David Letterman. I guess he created this. Or at least I'm going to give him credit. But people love that stuff. And when I say, I'm talking about the consumer. And after all, that's what we want. We want to give them what they want. Even if you think it's cheesy or you don't think it's, or you don't see the benefit to it. How many times in the past have you put an ad in the Post-Dispatch back in the day knowing that it wasn't going to sell the seller's house? You did it to a piece of seller. How many open houses have you held knowing it's absolutely pointless in terms of selling that client's house, but you had to appease the seller? Same thing here. Some of this teaser information or this eye candy stuff, if you're sitting there going, it's just really not that great, so what? If it's real and it's accurate and the clients like it or consumers like it and ultimately may go from being a prospect to a client, that is great. Plus, you're giving them something they're not getting somewhere else. Or maybe some of these things, I'm not saying they can't get any of this from anywhere else, but as we go on here, you'll see you can give them so much that why go 4 places and get it? The point I'm trying to make here to them is, look, we're one-stop shopping. No matter what you need, what you're looking for, if it's got to do with residential real estate, come talk to us. Okay, so here's and this is real time too. This is another web page, updated constantly. The page I'm showing you here was accurate as of the day I did this screenshot. But this ranks prices in the St. Louis area by zip code and what's the highest median home price. And it has it. People like to know this. Out-of-towners would find this very beneficial too, to kind of see if they want to be in the best area they can get in, that they can afford. This is a real quick way to find it. Okay, now after you have this data and this knowledge, you need to share it. It's great to have all these things and have all these resources and have these tools and all these nifty web pages and all this stuff and these market reports. I didn't even talk about the market reports, but market reports you can send out and all this stuff that sets you apart. But you have to be able to share it too. So how do you share it? You share it in a variety of ways. You can share it in newsletters. We use, for our company, we have online electronic newsletters that we email out a link to them every month. Market reports. We have a one-page executive summary as well as a multi-page, 6 to 8 page, in-depth market report for any area throughout the St. Louis area, actually anywhere in the country. It's something that, again, consumers love. Share it as, become the industry expert. Teach. I teach once a semester at WashU. I do a 3-hour lecture in a real estate finance class, a master's real estate finance class. I love it. And I started doing it just because I like sharing this information. But it's become a source of business for me. Become the media contact. Become the go-to person. Even if you can't do it on the macro level, you just can't quite get Fox 2 News to call you to talk about the real estate market as a whole. Become the expert for your market. Maybe you work maybe you're a loft person. Downtown lofts, where you become the go-to person. If anybody wants to know about downtown lofts, it's you, or maybe it's Chesterfield, or whatever your market is. Do market update videos. We do one. I do one once a month, 5-minute video. It's just and blogging. We do a lot of it too. All these things are various ways you can take the same piece of data, the same information, repackage it, and get a lot of bang for your buck. To give you a couple of examples, here's a small screenshot of part of our monthly newsletter. You can't hardly see it here, but right here is a top 10 list. So that same top 10 list that's showing up in a lot of places shows up on our newsletter. Charts, you recognize these charts. You just saw me fly off the page there too. Here's a quote from me in the STL today about the housing market. Here is me in a monthly article I do in the St. Louis Association of Realtors newsletter. Here is a top 10 list that's incorporated into a blog post, a market video. The point is here, yes, these things take effort and they take time, but it's the same data being packaged and delivered in different ways, and people like to receive their information differently. So some people may like the newsletter and get everything they need to know that way. Other people, the newsletter doesn't do it for them. They want the video. So the point is, you're trying to get it out there in as many different ways as possible. Now the other thing is, how do you want to use the data? Okay, we're talking about getting it out there, but how do you actually use this data now? Besides marketing, how are we going to use it? Use it in listing presentations. Use it with your buyers. Use it with investors. Use it during contract negotiations. Use it with marketing partners. This is something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Listing presentations. Listing presentations are a great opportunity for you to use this data and the tools that we've talked about here, as well as show off your expert status and really show a seller how you are different. Listing presentations are a great opportunity to create a blue ocean strategy. We all know it's difficult to go against a very established team or successful broker or a well-known company, slick marketing materials, all of that. What I'm going to talk about here will make all of that irrelevant. If you have spent the time to truly make yourself an expert in the market, as well as utilize these tools and resources that we have here, you will set yourself apart and you will change your seller's thinking when it comes to what is relevant to them. And in doing so, without ever saying a word about your competition, which we don't advocate doing, but without ever saying a word about your competition, you've totally made them irrelevant. And I'll talk about how shortly here. These tools will also help you price homes accurately. And whether you're in a soft market or a great market, a buyer's market or a seller's market, there's probably not anything that is more important to the success of that listing than pricing the home accurately. There are, of course, other things that are important, including its condition and availability for showing and everything else, but all those things can be adjusted for or accommodated through a price. If you have a home that just is never going to show well, the proper price will overcome the fact that it doesn't show well, and so on. And also, a very important tool or part of this is educating sellers. Sellers always have an opinion of their home that is unique to them usually. Their value, they think their home is worth more than comparable homes, and of course so because they've created memories and raised a family or whatever in the home, and it has a lot more value to them than it does to other people in many cases. So these tools and this data can be used to educate the sellers and also to take the pressure off of you. You're going to be pointing to and referring to this data, and it's not you that's saying their home is worth less, it's the market. Back to listings here, sorry about that. So one of the, and I'm not going to go into great detail on the listing presentations because we do that in a separate training video, but one of the best uses of this market data in these listing presentations is the chart that I've shown right here. Now, we recommend using a variety of tools and resources when talking with a seller, but this one here is probably the most influential, if you will, to a seller. On this chart, I'm showing the black line is the price per foot, that homes are selling for in this area. And the orange line is the square foot, the median square foot of the homes. In both cases, these are medians. And in this particular case, I've selected Clayton, Missouri. And you can see I've also selected over a 3-year period. So in one visual here, the seller can see very quickly, let's just look at the black line, what the price per square foot has done in the past 3 years in their market. And this does a lot of things. For one, it makes it very clear to them, in case they have been sleeping in a cave and didn't realize it, that the market did decline significantly during a chunk of this time period. It's very clear to see that. They can also see, in this case, that there's some rebounding here, that there's some positive news. You can see as I go down here by the arrow toward the end of last year, about the last quarter of last year, in this particular market, the prices have been heading up. And something that's important to remember and important to stress to sellers, this is real-time data. This data, I normally show this on my iPad, and it's from a web page. This would be one of just many charts for Clayton. If you remember that Kirkwood page I showed you earlier that had the stat table and several charts, that's generally what I would be sharing with a seller on my iPad. And but one thing I would stress to them is that this is real time. So if you come back and visit us a week later, it may look a little different, or a month from now. And I invite them to do that. I also tell them during the presentation that I will be emailing them a link to this page. I don't want to give it to them in advance, and I don't want to give it to them there, because I want their attention to stay where I'm leading them on my my iPad. But I also want that opportunity to make sure, if I don't have it yet, that I get their email address and their permission to email them later, because once they see this, they're going to want the link to get this real-time data. So I stress that this is also the opportunity that you have to introduce them to the idea of thinking in terms of real market data, what homes are listed for. That is what this pricing data is here that I'm showing. These prices that are shown on this chart are not sold prices. These are prices of homes currently on the market, whether they're in the MLS or not. Now, one of the things I stress here is that this is not just MLS data. One of the reasons I stress that is because I think, and I think most would agree, that more comprehensive data is going to be more accurate. The more data you have from a market, the more accurate it is. Now, even though in St. Louis the supermajority of listings are in the MLS, there are still a lot of properties that are not listed in the MLS. There are non-realtor brokers, there are banks and other sellers, investors that sell direct, and there's FSBO still. So there's plenty of homes on the market that are not in the MLS. So one thing I stress to them is that this is a bigger picture of the market than just the MLS. I don't criticize the MLS. I like the MLS, but I stress to them that as good as the MLS is, this is perhaps better, because after all, a home buyer is going to be just as willing to look at a FSBO down the street. Like it or not, realtor, it's true. And so if the buyer is willing to consider that house down the street that's not in the MLS, we should consider it in the pricing as well. The other thing I stress to them here is this is where I start talking about also the idea of using asking prices and current market prices versus sold prices. Now, this will be a little foreign to sellers typically, but I explain to them, and again, I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly here, but I explain to them the idea. I get them thinking that, you know, this is a house is a commodity. And I realize to them it's a home and a lot of other things. But basically, from a pricing standpoint, it's a commodity. And so just like other commodities in the market, gold, silver, sugar, soybeans, prices change. And it doesn't matter. Let's just talk about gold for a minute. It doesn't matter if you want to buy gold today. Does it matter what gold sold for a week ago? Or Google stock. I looked at Google the other day after it fell a little bit on some bad earnings news. I think it was $680 a share. Does it matter that, I can't remember the year, but I think in '06 I could have bought Google at $100 a share? No, it's irrelevant, because the fact that I could have done it in '06 has nothing to do with what I can do today. Today, if I want Google stock, I have to pay the current price. It doesn't matter even what yesterday's price was. If it happened to go up or down 10%, it's irrelevant. Same thing with houses. When it comes to houses, I'm not saying that there's no relevance at all to sold comps. I think sold comps and sold data are one of those things that we use we bring them in our arsenal of tools for pricing. They're a good way to check to see if the market's totally out of whack. For example, this real-time data here, if this shows that the median price per foot in Clayton right now is about $255 a foot. Well, if that's what the current market is, but all the sold data shows that in the past 6 months, all the homes have sold at $200 a foot. Well, this would show me something's out of skew here, because why is there suddenly a 25% bump in pricing versus what's actually happening? So anyway, the sold data does play a part, but this is more important because again, the buyer, it doesn't matter to the buyer if this identical house that you're setting in now to list, if that identical house sold 2 weeks ago for 10% more. That's going to, in a lot of ways, be irrelevant to the buyer if the identical house now is for sale down the street for 10% less. They're going to compare it to what is on the market. Now, again, they might compare it to sold data to see if it makes sense overall, and there could be appraisal issues and everything else if you are out of whack. But this is really what the market is about. And by doing this, by reprogramming the seller and showing them this new way of thinking, which is also a more accurate way of thinking, they will realize, and they'll see this here, they will realize that what you're saying is accurate, and they will realize the most relevant information to them is real-time market data for what is on the market now. They will admit, ask them, if you're having a hard time getting them over to this way of thinking, ask them, in their market for what they're looking for. If they're looking at a home and there's 2 homes on the market and one is and they're identical, and one is priced at $400 and one is priced at $450, and yet there are 6 sold comps of the identical home, 6 of them sold in the last 4 months for $450. Is that going to want to make them want to pay the $450 that the one seller is asking for, or is that just going to help them see that the $400 is a great deal? It's irrelevant. They don't care what it sold for before. It's not going to make them pay more now than they have to. It's all about the competition. It's about what's out there today. And so once you get them thinking that way, what you've done here is you've just made the any prior agent's presentation and any subsequent listing agent's presentation that's going to come in after you irrelevant. Because without saying a word to criticize them, what's going to happen is they're going to come in with the typical presentation. They're going to have a bunch of sold comps and talk about old, stale, historic data and base their pricing on that. And the seller's going to be sitting there knowing that that's not the best way to do it. And they're going to know that this data is old, and so it's going to really make you stand out. And also, this is a great tool to help get sellers, to educate them and also get them in the right frame of thinking on price. Because what I like to do and teach is that usually sellers have a higher idea of what their house is worth. So if that seller's price works out to about $285 a foot, let's just say, what I would do is I'd show them on this chart, just like I'm doing this arrow. I would put my finger here and say, okay, you think your house is worth $285 a foot. That's right about here. Now let's see if you have the typical house. That's why this orange line's on here. That's showing us what is typical in the market in terms of size. And we can see that right now it has grown quite a bit, but right now the median house is about 3,500 feet. Let's just say we're setting in a 3,500 foot house. So I would show them you have the typical sized house that's on as far as what's on the market, and you think your price should be here. Now granted, there are differences between your house and other houses. Some are better than yours, some are not as good, but this is a pretty big market. Clayton's a pretty big market. There's quite a bit of data going on here. Everybody else, the median works out to about 255. You're up here, they're down here. Once you start showing people this, even the most stubborn seller eventually sees it and admits that, wow, there is quite a gap there. It's visual to them. they can see that, okay, I'm not saying your house isn't better than some of these, but really you're going to be up here. Everything else in the market, median is down here now. Then the other thing I do is I show them, well, really you're at a price point. Let's just go back. When was the market 285? Oh, well, see, back here during this period, back in '09, there was a period of time that it was around that market. And this also shows them, it just kind of starts helping them get their head around this. And again, you're not the bad person here. You're not the one telling them their house isn't worth what they think. The market is. And you're just showing them that no, in this market, that's not where it's at. It was back here. Maybe it will be, projecting forward. If you wait till this line gets up here, it may come back to that. But you're showing them it's just not there now, and it's a great tool. Now I'm going to move on from this and now show you the same thing when it comes to buyers. For buyers, these same tools, the same charts, the same data I'm talking about, for starters, this will show your buyer that they have the right agent, because just like for all the same things I stressed with the seller about the difference in real-time data versus stale data and actual pricing of what's on the market now versus what's sold before, all those same things, those same comments are going to apply to the buyer as well. And that's going to show them that you're not the ordinary agent, that you know the market better than the ordinary agent. You are on top of it. The other thing that studying these charts and talking about these charts and using these charts all the time does is, whether you want to or not, you learn the market. And then you get to the point where you know square footages, you know what homes are selling for per foot, you know what the trends are. You really become the expert we're talking about. These tools help the buyer make the right offer. Helps educate the buyers. If you're in a bad market, every buyer seems to think they can steal everything they're looking at. If you're in a great market, buyers a lot of times don't realize that they might have to pay even more than the asking price to get it. These charts and this data will help you see what the market is and help you educate them so that they do make the right offer. Not one chart's going to do this. It's a combination of the charts. It's a combination of those, the stats tables, all the market data. But again, for Clayton here, this is the Market Action Index. This is a quick snapshot. I'm not going to go into detail about this. I have other videos on that. But this is a quick snapshot of how the market is. And in a nutshell, the higher the number gets, the better it is. The more, once it's above a 30, it's a seller's market. Below that, it's a buyer's market. But what we can see here is the Market Action Index, the orange line. The market is definitely improving in Clayton. The black line's the days on market for listings. We can see that's declining a little bit. So these couple of things here, along with some other charts, maybe if we looked at the number of homes on the market, if it was declining and prices are increasing, the combination of all these would show us that this is a pretty good market, and the buyer's probably not going to steal something there. That's going to give them the confidence, well, the knowledge to know, and then the confidence to do it, that they're probably going to have to pay, make a more aggressive offer, a stronger offer in order to buy in this market. Conversely, if all these things were pointing the other direction, and it was showing that the inventory was growing, the days on the market was growing, prices were flat or maybe declining, that would give the buyer the knowledge to, and also would back up the idea of making a lower offer. This also comes in handy for contract negotiations. I've used this with other agents. I used this in North County where I was working with a client, and they were making offers that in many cases were significantly less than the asking prices, because the houses were just quite frankly overpriced. And sometimes with agents that, listing agents that disagreed and didn't think that was the market, I'd provide them these stat tables and these charts and just show them what was going on, that hey, the median price per foot right now in the entire, let's just say Florissant market is $72 a foot. Your listing's at $90 a foot or whatever, and I would just show them it. And again, not to be argumentative with the agent, it was to help them. And then I would suggest to them that perhaps this is data you want to share with your seller. In some cases, pride or ego wouldn't allow that to happen, but in other cases it did. The listing agents were appreciative. They knew they had an overpriced listing, and they actually used our market data to help convince their sellers that our offer was in the right range. So you can use it that way. For investors, same way. Same thing that, just like what I was talking about with the buyers and the sellers, this will make you stand out. It will help you educate them. and it'll also help them find those markets that they want to be in or not be in. And then it's great for building a relationship too. Investors, particularly since they're usually always in the market, they're going to love the market reports. They're going to want to sign up for those. They're going to invite you to email them weekly or monthly with these market updates. And it's all on autopilot, and you're going to keep that relationship going with them. Marketing partners, same. Again, same as the others. This is your opportunity. These types of things, this data, these charts, these are things that mortgage companies, title companies, other maybe home inspectors, whatever, other industry or other professionals related to the real estate industry are going to see value in this. They are always looking for ways to offer value to agents they work with. They're looking for ways to help you do business so that you can do more business with them. And this is something that's unique, it's different, and it's a great tool for them. And so it's a great opportunity for you to share with them what you have and let them pay for your marketing. Let them provide this service to you or this data to you at their cost, and do some joint marketing. And again, we have training videos that are specifically on that. And finally, one of the other uses of this, what you see on the screen here, is one of the market reports. Now, these are produced in a one-page executive summary, like is shown here, or a 6 to 8 page in-depth report that just really delves into the data much more. But this executive summary is very popular because on one sheet of paper, on one page, it's pretty much everything a buyer, a seller, an investor might want to know about a market. It talks about supply and demand, talks about pricing. It gives what's similar to the stat table up here. Breaks it down into price quartiles, different price ranges in the market. A lot of good info. These come out automatically. This is from Altos. This would come out automatically. You can set the timing, whether it be weekly or biweekly or monthly, and your prospects can receive these things. And like I said before, anybody in the market is going to love this. You can get it, in this case this is for Augusta, but you can get it for them for their market. You got somebody relocating, these can be obtained for anywhere in the country. Again, this is not your typical, you're not your typical referral agent where all you're doing is making a phone call. If you've got somebody that's thinking about moving to Chicago and you start producing, you hear that, this is a great way to really establish that relationship where they will allow you to refer them and stick with you on the referral. Because if you start saying, hey, let me get you some market reports on Chicago, I may be here in St. Louis, but it's not a big deal, I'll get you data on Chicago, you're going to show them that you, again, you're not the ordinary agent. So a great tool. This is a way to make open houses productive. I mean, open houses I know there's different schools of thought here. My personal opinion is they're absolutely a waste of time in 98% of the cases in terms of trying to sell that particular house. Agents tend to do them, hold open houses, mainly to try to establish relationships with some prospects that might be interested in buying in the area, or perhaps neighbors that might sell a little later date. So that's generally the purpose. You walk in and generally the agent's asking someone to sign in, give a name, email, phone number, whatever. A lot of people are reluctant to do that, or they give you bad info. Some agents have gotten more clever and creative about it, but still, it's an awkward situation. Generally, you're wanting something from them that they don't really want to give to you. This is a great opportunity to really make these market reports, to really make those open houses productive. I wouldn't use the one-page executive summary. I'd use the in-depth report. And what I would suggest is if you're holding a home open, let's say in this case in Augusta, I would take with you to the open house one copy of the complete report. The 7 or 8 pages, color, with all these nice color charts and graphs and all this data, I would take one copy with you, throw away your sign-in sheet that you normally use, and have this out. And then as people come through and you invite them to look through the home, I would also point this out to them that over on the counter you have this market report. Give them a little quick synopsis of what's in it. If they're a nosy neighbor, they're going to like this market report. Do nosy neighbors ever sell and buy houses? Yes. So if they're a nosy neighbor, they're going to like this because it's going to tell them what's going on in their neighborhood. If they're a real buyer looking in that area, they're going to like this because it tells them what's going on in that market. And it also, when you stress that it's available anywhere, any market they're looking in. If they're a seller, if anybody, so the point is, almost anybody coming through that house is going to have an interest in this data. They're going to ask you for a copy. Do you have this? And of course, you only have one. No, I don't have it, but if you'll just give me your email address, I'll email you one immediately. And or you can use an app on your iPhone or your smartphone and just have them sign up themselves for it immediately. But if what you're doing is if at that point they're asking you for something, they want this market report, and then you're just asking them simply for their email address so you can get it to them, they will give it to you happily. So it changes the whole dynamic of that. Instead of you asking them for something they don't really want to give and putting them on the spot, it's just the opposite. Now you've shown them some value, and you've shown them something they're going to want, and they will happily give you their email address to get this. Once you start that relationship, you can continue it. One of the great things about the Altos system with these market reports is when they send them out, typically weekly, when they get sent to their email weekly, you'll get an email notification letting you know these have went out. Even better yet, once a prospect or a client opens one of the reports, you get an immediate text or email notification that they've opened it. And that is a great tool, because then it's a great opportunity for you to call, just randomly call that prospect. You don't need to tell them that you've got this stealth stuff going on. You know they just opened the report. But what I might do is, if I knew they just opened this report in Augusta, I might call the person, just happen to call them at that time, and say, hey, you know what? I know you've been getting these market reports, from me for a while, and they came out this morning or yesterday or whenever they came out. Do you have any questions on them? And then they're going to be like, oh, well, I just so happens that I'm looking at it right now. Oh, really? Okay, great. Any questions? And it just starts the dialogue. So they're a great tool to use. And that's it. Now, again, the ocean's not a place for everyone, but it's a great place. And for those that are going to really grasp the concept of the blue ocean and develop strategies utilizing that, I think you're going to see that the results are great, and it's going to be well worth the effort. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us.